Maybe it's the things that you guys thought should have happened day one, is that they should be successful right off the bat. And it takes time. Failing is all right. It's not a bad thing to fail for a pro athlete, because you can get better and learn from it. And those two are the best in the world, and we feel very comfortable with those two having the ball. Sometimes it goes in, sometimes it doesn't, but we learn from it, and I think they've answered that question from day one. As you just mentioned, they're one of the best, if not the best, in clutch time. But that was a big thing you guys wanted to make a big deal about last year. But you're not making a big deal about it this year because shit's going good, right? So write some positive shit.
I just asked you a question.
And I'm giving you a fucking answer. Like, you guys, there's all right to write positive stuff. People will read your positive shit. You don't always have to be negative. Right? Like, it's just the world's already negative enough, right? So let's see some positive stuff on some positive people that are doing their job on a nightly basis.
Making it a lot easier to do that this year.
Well, we're only into this year. We can't go back to last year, right? Like, that's the fucking problem.
All right. Welcome to another episode or another live stream of Mavs Film Room. I don't know what you call it, Mavs Film Room Live. We're here on July 30th at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. I guess it's 8:30 p.m. Central time. Sorry, it just took a second to get my bearings there at the beginning. I'm joined by my co-host Vinay. We got Rohan joining us for this one, although I see him in another room over there, so I'm sure he'll join us in a second. But we're in the middle of the summer, not a ton going on in Mavs land, but the content machine rolls on. Vinay, I'll start with you. How's it going?
I'm doing well. Big week for Men's Health magazine, but besides that, I think everything's going along, slugging slowly in this off season. My least favorite part of honestly the entire calendar year is when it's 100 degrees in Dallas and there's no like football or basketball on in sports. So just slugging along.
Yeah, it's that time of the year where there's not a ton going on. I mean, I guess there's Rangers baseball if you're into that, although they've just had two unfortunate losses to the Angels. But we're not here to talk about that. Rohan, it's good to have you back again. It wasn't too long ago we had you on after the Mavericks won the draft lottery. How's it going with you?
Going fantastic. Sun in my face. Cooper Flag is going to be a fucking legend in the NBA. Excuse my French. I live in the same city that our boy Luka Doncic is going to have his revenge season in. So I kind of get the best of both worlds. I'm feeling great, and I'm glad to be here. Let's talk some Mavs.
Let's do it. And in the spirit of the Jason Kidd clip that we played there at the beginning, let's talk about some positive shit, because for the last few days or so, I think we've been harping on a lot of the deserved negative perspective around the Mavericks. And, you just talked about it, Vinay, that Men's Health article. I think we'll get to that later on. Let's not lead in with that. Let's talk about some reasons to be optimistic about this Mavericks team, because while we do agree that they're probably not a contender this year, I think that there are a few things to look forward to this season. Vinay, what are some of your reasons to be optimistic about this team this season?
I'll give two. One's going to be what everyone says, and then one's maybe a point that I don't think people are talking enough about. One, obviously, the start of Cooper Flag's NBA journey. Like Rohan said, he's, I think not likely, but I think he'll be like a Hall of Fame level player. He's going to be effing amazing, like we've talked about on our podcast before. But just seeing how all of that transpires, how he fits into the NBA game, how he adjusts, all that comes with that. I just think it's going to be a fun time to watch that. And then second point I would say is Anthony Davis being as healthy as he possibly has ever been in a Mavericks jersey, which isn't saying a lot, but in that crazy first half versus the Rockets, he was still coming off of an oblique injury, which later led to an abdominal injury in that game. And then even when he came back in the rest of the season for those 8 games and then the play-in games, Like he just wasn't moving the same like we've seen Anthony Davis on the Lakers move, and I think especially to start the season. And I mean, it's likely that he's going to get some sort of injury at some point. But I think for the most part this season, we're going to see the best physical version of Anthony Davis just in terms of how he moves and all that. Because, I mean, the defensive end of Anthony Davis in Dallas, we didn't get to see the glimpse of. We didn't see the best of. Like, he's a defensive player of the year caliber player. He's probably the best defensive player I've seen that hasn't won that trophy specifically. But, I mean, I'm excited for that. Anthony Davis and Cooper Flag. I'll keep it simple.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are two of the main reasons to be excited about this team, especially.
Super mainstream.
Yeah. I mean, it is mainstream, but it is also accurate. I mean, I think as we kind of discussed on the last stream, there's a lot of wild cards about this Mavericks team, you know, whether it's Caleb Martin, Max Christie, Najee Marshall, Klay Thompson. I think there's some guys that we don't know what the season is going to look like for them. And so Anthony Davis, Cooper Flag are pretty safe bets in that regard. I think, you know, Anthony Davis, I know Anthony Davis being healthy is kind of the key to the Mavericks overachieving this season. Is it safe to say that?
Yeah, definitely. I think like when Las Vegas puts out their over-unders for 40.5 with Dallas, I feel like they would think the Mavericks were a better team if they had like more assurances about the different health of different players, not just Anthony Davis, but Derek Lively and Kyrie too are also going to be entering training camp with their own injuries. Obviously, various degrees of how serious they are. But if Anthony Davis plays, let's say 70 games, then I don't see how this team is in the top 6 seed. And I know we bitched a lot about our different concerns about the team last podcast, but if that happens, like he's a top 10-ish player. I think he's top 10. People can debate that, but if he's plays 70 games, then I can't see how the Mavericks aren't a top 6 seed. And even avoiding the play-in altogether, which is probably my biggest dream of the Mavericks this season, is to not be in that Mickey Mouse play-in tournament.
The Mickey Mouse play-in tournament. Yeah, I would love to not be in that again. I think 1 year was enough. For the longest time, I'd always prided the Mavericks on being one of those teams that had never competed in the play-in tournament, for better or for worse. But they finally joined the club last year, and it's not a desirable place to be. Rohan, what are your thoughts on this upcoming Mavericks season? What are reasons to be optimistic?
I am. I'll put it very plainly. I am optimistic about the season compared to last. Even though you don't know how healthy AD is going to be, and Kyrie's possibly not back until March, and that is a little bit wishful thinking. Cooper Flag is going to be great. Like the things that I didn't see from the highlights, I got to see flashes of it in Summer League, especially that game against the Spurs, I believe. All of that talk from one of the biggest fans of the franchise and former governor, and just the talk around Cooper after Summer League was not after Summer League, after he was drafted was, he can play point guard. We want to make him uncomfortable. I like the spirit, but I don't think he's going to be your primary ball handler. That being said, I think he can be like a really good shot creator at his peak in the NBA, which I was not that confident before Summer League. And then again, it's just exhibition against other, let's say, semi-pros or prospects, but some of them are NBA players, but you can't put too much stock in it. But I think he's going to be fantastic. We're going to get highlight clips. It reminds me of when a certain other generational prospect was in his rookie year in a Mavericks jersey. How like there was like a slow start to the preseason, but then as soon as you got to like your main rivalry games in that second week of the season, you just started getting great moments. I don't know if he's going to be that clutch, but I think he's going to tide over a lot of the worry that we have with Kyrie being out. And I'm really glad that Cooper Flag's on the Dallas Mavericks.
I think we all are pretty glad that he's on the Mavs, and it does feel a little bit like that season. I can't lie to you. especially with Cooper coming in. This is a veteran team. There's a lot of guys on this team. I mean, pretty much everyone on this team was not acquired to be built around Cooper, and so it's really Cooper stepping into this roster. And I think I've said a bunch of times at this point, like this season is going to be figuring out who fits around Cooper and who doesn't, and trying to retool the roster.
Yeah, well said. I mean, right after the Mavs won the lottery, I think we did have some of that discussion, although it was, that we were talking about a lot of other things. But yeah, this is a great year where, like, as long as you're not thinking, oh, the Mavericks are going to get to the Western Conference Finals or it's a failure. I mean,
All right, bro, you're not a Mavs fan then.
I was waiting for that, dude. At this point, anytime someone's a little critical.
I know we've said this a bunch of times, but I'm just amazed by how many people have pivoted to that style of tweeting on Mavs Twitter. Like, it's just crazy. Because I can remember on February 1st, like 99% of people on Mavs Twitter fucking hated the trade. Like, what happened now?
I don't really want to get into Twitter replies too much. All I'll say is Twitter deciding to pay people for their tweets causes people to just rage bait way more. It's engagement farming. I think a lot of it is. Like, there's no way that like all of these people are this dumb, honestly. But
I don't know, bro.
Yeah,
I really
honestly,
do think they might be that dumb. Like the fact that there's Nico Harrison defenders since I mean, we'll get into it later, I guess. But the fact that there's Nico Harrison defenders since February 1st when he hasn't done jack shit since besides signed D'Lo for the taxpayers mid-level is insane to me. Like, what the hell did he do to get Cooper Flag besides nuke a title contender? Like, that's the credit he deserves for that.
I mean, Texas ranks 25th in education in America, so it checks out.
It's better than Oklahoma. They have smarter fans than us sometimes.
But at least they got an NBA championship. Well, I mean, we do too, but that was like...
Do you think the state would swap out the championship for better education?
I think they'd rather keep the championship. to be honest,
I mean, to be fair, that's Dirk's championship. I'm not trading that for anything.
Oh, I meant the Thunder's championship, not ours. We're never giving that up.
You mean Scott Foster's championship?
Wow.
Okay.
Crazy.
Let's. I don't want to stay on the Nico Harrison like hater talk. We should be positive. There are a lot of things to look forward to. Jay, what were we talking about before we got derailed? Oh, that's right. We were talking
about that. And actually, on that note, I think the coaching staff is another reason to be positive about this team because you have a really good coaching staff. You have Jason Kidd, you have Frank Vogel, Jay Triano. I'm missing someone else on the front bench. The name might come to me. Then you got Phil Handy, Josh Broghammer. Again, they hired that guy from... Is that the guy they hired from the Nuggets? Mike Penberthy.
Yeah.
But I'm missing the other front of bench coach. Vogel, Triano, and...
Great stuff.
Yeah, shit. I'm going to look. Hold on. This is a stream,
Mavs, man? You're not thinking about Mavs, man?
This is not... It's not Mavs, man.
What do y'all... I feel like the new Mavs man design is... I like the old one, man.
Yeah, I like the old one, too.
Absolutely.
The new one
like a lot
weird.
of old stuff about the Mavericks franchise.
Vinay, you need to stop instigating, bro.
Not instigating. I'm just making a comment.
No, fair enough.
But I can't. Bro, AI on Google is so bad. They try to tell me Marko Milic is one of the coaches on the Mavs staff.
Dude, he quit in the middle of last season after the trade. Like, people forget the Mavericks lost like 2 assistant coaches during the season last year. One of them was Marko Milic, who I guess resigned in protest, and then the other one was Daryl Armstrong, who got arrested.
That's not funny.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that.
It's not funny, but
man, I remember when Daryl Armstrong was on the Mavericks, and I'm not thinking about it.
No, you don't. You joined the Mavericks fandom when Luka got drafted, bro. You're not a Mavs fan.
No, yeah, coaching is
But Phil Handy is I don't know if he's getting front of the bench
Oh,
consideration, but
it's Popeye Jones. That's the other guy that
that's
they
who it
had.
was.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Former Maverick Popeye Jones.
Yep, former Maverick, and I think he's a pretty well-respected name in the NBA coaching circles. So, I mean, all those names, and, we kind of said that very disjointly, so let me just go through it as a list. Again, Jason Kidd is the head coach, obviously. You got Jay Triano, Popeye Jones, Frank Vogel, and then in the back of the bench you have Mike Pemberthy, Josh Broghammer, and Phil Handy, which Phil Handy, I think, fantastic signing for the coaching staff. So all that put together, I feel like the coaching staff is a real reason to be optimistic about this team and what they can do.
No, that's a phenomenal coaching staff. Phil Handy was one of my favorite hires that they made. Obviously, getting Frank Vogel as your assistant coach is like super overqualified for what he should be doing. Like, there's no reason he shouldn't have one of the 30 head coaching jobs just based off of his track record and all that. It'll be interesting to see how Jay Triano does, because I know that the Mavericks hired Igor Kokoshkov a couple years ago, 2022, for kind of changing up their offensive system, and they didn't get along, and Igor left after the year. So I'm curious how that goes. And obviously, Jay Triano has a big task on his hands with trying to figure out how to get easy shots for this team that doesn't have the best shot creation or playmaking. I'll say that lightly in the NBA.
Yeah, I think Jay Triano, a lot of the offensive burden is going to fall on him next season to kind of make things work. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But I think, we talked about it kind of on the last stream, like how do the Mavericks build a defense around Anthony Davis, and Frank Vogel is the perfect guy to do that because he has experience doing it and doing it at a high level. So I'm very excited about the Frank Vogel hire.
No, same. It's I'll reiterate what VC said.
You don't know my name anymore?
Hey, man.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's he should be a head coach realistically, but if you're the organization run by Nico Harrison, who just clearly he believes defense wins championships, despite the fact that defense is played less and less in the NBA every single year. If hiring Frank Vogel is good for that vision, right? The question, Jay, that you had asked, I think, before the NBA draft lottery was like, all right, is this defense going to be a top 15 defense? I don't know if it will based on personnel. Now I think it's very possible that they will be a top 10 defense, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised if that were to happen. And you need that. The construction of this team, I'm not going to really talk about the player that we're talking about, was very... there was one primary playmaker and one tertiary playmaker, and now I think you're just kind of... I hope that the ball is shared a lot more on offense, but that the name of the game is to stop the opposing team from scoring as much as possible. So,
I just thought about D'Lo heliocentric basketball.
Yeah, that's the one.
I want to go back to your defense wins championships comment. I'm actually a defensive extremist. Nico Harrison kind of toned
me. What does that mean, dude?
I'm a huge believer in defense. I just think defense is a big factor in all professional sports, like especially with championship caliber teams. I don't know how else to say that. That's the way I chose. I'm sorry.
He's a radical defensive enthusiast.
Yes, but apparently not to Nico Harrison's level. But what kind of annoys me is like, it could be a top 10 defense for sure. I mean, there's all defensive caliber guys on the team, particularly AD and Cooper, and even Lively when he's right. But like the point of attack defense, I just feel like it's so has been neglected by Nico. I know we talked about it before. He tried to address it with Caleb Martin. I don't even know if he's going to get consistent rotation minutes. That's also like another reason why I think Max Christie is going to end up being one of the more important players this season, because if he can like elevate, take a leap, get more minutes from Jason Kidd, even close games over Klay Thompson, I think that the defensive level of the entire team would just elevate a lot. I'm not expecting Max Christie to go shut down SGA like he's Tony Allen or anything like that, but those are the type of guys that he's going to have to be guarding, and he's one of those players that if they take a leap, especially on the defensive end, they can I'm not saying championship caliber defense, but they're going to be really freaking good on that end.
Yeah, I mean, point of attack defense is something that they're lacking right now. Like they got the rim protection with AD and Derek Lively. They have the help defense, the shot blocking with Cooper Flag. I think they have some solid defenders. Caleb Martin, if he's like just even 1% better than last year, that represents an upgrade. And Max Christie, I think, again, a big X factor, not only for his offense, but for his defense. Like he's one of the youngest players on the team. He's only 22 years old. He's a long defender. So, you can put him in front of a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. And yeah, he's not going to stop him because you don't stop a player like that. But if you can make it tough on him, that's really the goal. And I think Max Christie is in a unique position to be able to do that. I wouldn't trust Caleb Martin or Najee Marshall in that role. I think both of them have a bit of an overrated defensive reputation. But Max Christie, I think, definitely has a huge opportunity this season. And you mentioned a good thing, Vinay, about the closing lineups. I think let's get into that because, again, with the way that this roster is constructed, there are going to be 2 or 3 guys that sit in crunch time that probably feel like they should be playing. So what do you think this closing lineup is going to look like?
I think for most games it'll be D'Lo, Clay, PJ, Cooper, and AD. I think that'll be for most games. And I know that the Mavericks have talked about the double big stuff and all that, but I don't think they're going to be closing a lot of games with that. But maybe they do. Maybe they do. And maybe they're like fully committed to that. But it would just feel like you're missing out on so much potential if you don't play Anthony Davis at the 5. And closing lineups just make the most sense for that. You have more shooting around AD. And I feel like that could be a really good lineup. I don't know exactly like if I'm taking it over the Thunder or anything like that. Like it's not going to be one of the best lineups in basketball until Kyrie gets back. But I mean, for like this is what it is until Kyrie's back situation. Like I feel like that's fine. But it also just leads to a different question of like you said, like 2 to 3 guys are going to be pissed off they're not closing games. Lively and Gafford, and then whoever the third one is that you were thinking of. But that'll be interesting to see because I mean, like we all feel like they should make like consolidation trade that kind of just balances the roster out, and that'll be even more like glaring when you have your 12th overall pick and Derek Lively sitting on the bench, and you have your center that you just paid a fat extension to, and Daniel Gafford sitting on the bench in crunch time. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be guys that get squeezed out of this rotation. I mean, let's say the closing lineup is like D'Lo, Christie, I don't know, Najee Marshall, Cooper Flag, and Anthony Davis. Like that's Klay Thompson, Caleb Martin, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively.
How was that the second name? No offense.
What?
How was Caleb Martin the second name on that?
I don't know. It just came to me in my head.
Sorry.
I mean, he's a veteran player. I'm sure he expects.
Yeah.
To
Closing,
contribute.
he expects to close.
I don't know. I mean, I think in his head he's probably still living off the 2023 finals run with the Heat. I think
You didn't even say PJ. PJ wouldn't be
Oh
closing
yeah,
in that lineup.
PJ. I mean, I could see PJ in the closing lineup over Christie, for example, and then you slide Cooper Flag up by one position. But I don't know. I mean, I said Najee Marshall just because, like, again, we've talked about the lack of ball handling on this team. I think having Najee on the floor along with D'Lo and Cooper Flag gives you at least 3 ball handlers in that lineup. But yeah, I maybe PJ makes more sense in the closing lineup.
And I think the lineup that I said will close most of the games, but I really think Jason Kidd's probably going to be changing that closing lineup a lot, probably depending on who's hot for that game, probably depending on what other team they're facing on the other side. Like if they're playing Cleveland, they're probably going to close with double big. So a lot of it is matchup dependent, but I do think it's going to be D'Lo, Clay, PJ, Coop, AD for most of the season until obviously Kyrie's back.
Yeah, and like you said, that's not bad. I mean, those are all talented players in their own right. I'm sure that ball handling again will be an issue at times, but I think that that's a pretty solid closing lineup. And obviously, a lot of it hinges on what D'Lo does at that time of the game, because whether we like it or not, a lot of offense is going to run through him down the stretch.
Yeah. I think y'all mentioned it in one of the previous episodes with Fossil, how he's streaky and he'll have some games where he looks amazing, and then some games where it looks like he's, you know, kind of chucking. Um, I don't know. I kind of view him like Tim Hardaway Jr., except Tim Hardaway Jr. was off ball most of the time. So it's a trade-off. You get somebody who can make plays and score, but he's not necessarily the volume scorer, the catch and shoot guy that you would want from somebody who, frankly, does not have the best defensive reputation and is not the best playmaker. That being said, the question, especially early on in the season, is how much three-point shooting are you going to get? And D'Lo does help that. He is a good three-point shooter. All of that being said, I actually was thinking more about 80 closing at the 5. I think all of us agree on that. But I was just looking at the statistics. Lively is like a 50-60% free throw shooter. Gafford is like 70-ish, like career. And last season he had a pretty good one, like one of his best at around 68-69%. And meanwhile, AD is at 80%, right? So like not only we already knew he was playable at center, but like there's a clear reason why somebody as talented as Derek Lively would not be on the floor, purely because you have AD who can play ahead of you. But free throws is a big deal. The good thing about the lineup that Vinay gave is I don't think there's a lot of weaknesses. I think you said Clay at the 2, right, Vinay?
Yeah.
That's great for shooting. It does leave a little bit of like, I don't know, speed and stuff, but if you play Christie and Cooper right next to him, I think that solves a lot of the problems, which is kind of why I opened up saying Cooper's the most exciting thing about this team. There are a lot of things to be excited about. D'Lo is not a bad player, right? Like he says, listen,
He's not. He's not.
No, I know. I'm just laughing because that's how you're like phrasing him, is he's not a bad player.
I feel like his reputation among fans isn't as high as a player of his caliber necessarily should get. Like, if you can start on any team as a combo guard, regardless of whether that team is a winning team or not, that means that you're good enough, right? Like, and he's had some great moments in the league. He was very good in LA with Anthony Davis. I'm quietly optimistic about that. However, I did bring up Tim Hardaway Jr. for the reason he was one of those Mavs that, like, when he's missing, you're like, right? You kind of live and die by the 3.
That's D'Lo as a player. Like, when he's on, he's amazing to watch. Like, it's breathtaking to see him rain in threes, and like when he's on fire, like he's not gonna miss. But then there are those games where he's still forcing the issues, still shooting his normal diet of shots, but this time he's going 5 for 20 from the field, and like that's a much different experience when it comes to D'Lo. And
you guys are making me scream internally with Tim Hardaway Jr. with better ball handling as their starting point guard.
I mean, look, there is a reason why teams have, let's say, like, been eager to get off of D'Angelo Russell. Like let's face it, there's been a reason for that. That doesn't mean he's a bad player, but as we've seen in the NBA, you could be talented, but teams still may not like you. I mean, Christian Wood is a good example of that. I'm not saying
God, you guys are making it worse.
Well, I'm just trying to rationalize things and also explain why D'Angelo Russell carries the reputation that he does. But
No.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, that's fair. I mean, I'm honestly excited for D'Lo too. Like, especially for like the cost. Like, it's not like he's coming in for 2 years, $40 million. Like, he's just a stopgap guard. And honestly, even in those games where he doesn't have it, I'm curious what lineup they would close with. I feel like they would close with a huge lineup as opposed to like Brandon Williams at point guard. So that'll be interesting. Like I said before, like it's going to be a lot dependent on game flow. It's going to be dependent on matchups and all that. And I think D'Lo can fit in nicely here. And we need the shooting.
He might need 2 years, $40 million if he keeps getting extorted by IG models.
Wow.
Okay, we're not talking about that, bro. We're not talking about that.
That wasn't
No,
wasn't on the agenda.
Well, it wasn't on the agenda, but that's the beauty about streams is that you can go off script a little bit. But I mean, yeah, in all seriousness, I think that D'Angelo Russell, I mean, we've said this time and time again, like he was probably the most talented player they could get with that what is it? Taxpayer mid-level exception, right? $5.6 million. And so I'm sure D'Angelo Russell felt like he deserved more money this summer, but obviously with the cap space situation around the league, this was probably the best offer he could get. And so he's got a lot to prove himself personally. Like he's playing for another big contract. If things go well with the Mavericks this season, then he'll be in line for a contract in that $20 to $30 million range that he probably feels like he deserves. And so there's a lot on the line for him this season, and hopefully he lives up to that. But, on the note of D'Lo and three-point shooting, I think, we know that three-point shooting is a big weakness for this Mavericks team. Who do we think is going to improve on their three-point shooting from last year? I'll go first. I think Caleb Martin is going to be better from three next season because it just cannot be any worse than it was this past year.
Well, damn, my answer's kind of similar. It's Najee Marshall at 27.5. I feel like that'll be better too because it's hard to get worse than that.
that's a really good one. One of my favorite hybrid wings in the league, even when he was on the Pelicans. I'm just gonna go ahead and say Max Christie. It's not like he's gotten a lot of run, but like if he can maintain or improve with a little more volume and just a little more playing time, it makes him that much more serviceable. Yeah.
I'd like to see
one.
more.
What if?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. A sneaky one. Derek Lively going from 0% to like 15%.
Okay, Mark, stop. Mark Cuban, please stop.
I mean, that 15% for Derek Lively, I'll take that actually. Like in all seriousness,
I would
take
rather
that.
have 0 if you're making 15% of your threes. I would just rather you just not take any at that point.
Well, that's also true too.
I think he could shoot better than 15. I was just kidding. Maybe like.
I mean, if you can shoot 20,
not
that's
the same
not terrible. But yeah, you don't want the thing about 3-point misses that we've always talked about this is that they cause a lot of transition opportunities for the opponent because of long rebounds. And the Mavericks, we've said this again, they don't quite or they need to prove that they have the foot speed to defend against faster teams and especially in transition. And so you don't want to be gunning away from three as a weak 3-point shooting team while also being a weak transition defense team. That's a losing recipe. And so, yeah, it might just make the most sense to say, Derek Lively, you cannot shoot threes this year. But, I mean, yeah, Max Christie, he shot 36.4% from three with the Mavericks last year on 4.7 attempts per game. Like you said, Rohan, I'd like to see his volume go up. Can he get to like 5 or 6 attempts from three next season at 36%? Like that'll be a big boost to the Mavericks offense, in my opinion.
I would have answered Klay Thompson if we had Kyrie healthy to start the season. I think if you have a scorer playmaker in that position that is, no offense again, a little better than D'Angelo Russell, I think he could creep back up to where he was in like the early 2020s, or like before 2020. Not like he's going to be shooting 44% from three again, but he can shoot above 40%. I can see that, and on volume.
Yeah, I mean, Klay was at 39.1% last year, so it isn't conceivable to say that he could.
Inconceivable.
Or sorry, yeah, it's not inconceivable to say he could get to 40% or over that. The last time he shot above 40% was in 22-23, where he was at 41.2% from three. He only attempted 7.7 threes per game. In his last season with the Warriors, he attempted 9 threes per game. Could he get back to that number? I think with how stretched they are for shooting, they might need 9 threes a game from Klay Thompson. Attempts, at least.
No, you're very right, especially because you don't have, we talked about D'Lo enough. You don't have Kyrie, who is just like, ever since he was in Brooklyn, like he's just become this incredible shooter. I don't even care if the numbers really support that, but they do. He's been hovering around 50, 40, 90 for a couple of seasons now. Yeah, you're going to need him to take a little more, I think. And we'll see about PJ. I think the thing with PJ is he's like his mentality is defense first, right? Which is great to add him into any lineup. But I don't think he's going to get a lot more attempts, but I think he could make more. Like I don't see anything about his shot or the way he's defended that makes that impossible or
I mean, yeah,
improbable.
PJ was at 38% last season on 4.2 attempts per game. So, we know that PJ gets a lot of those open corner threes, although without Luca, I'm not sure how many of those he'll get this season. But when he's open, I think he should take it. Like he put in a lot of work in the 2024 offseason to improve his shot, and I think it paid off. So, would love to see him continue to do that. Now that we're talking about it out loud, I'm feeling a little bit better about our 3-point shooting.
My issue, and Vinay and I talked about this when the D'Lo news came out. It's like he's a good pickup for a team that needs guard depth, sure, and it's a great contract. But like my whole thing is we were talking like, okay, you can have like Chris Paul off the bench and stuff like that. I was thinking like, okay, yeah, we're gonna need like a great playmaker now that Kyrie is out, and they went the scorer route, which I'm not against, but I still think that this team is lacking like a primary playmaker that is I don't want it to sound like I'm hating on D'Angelo Russell. He's just not your primary playmaker on a championship level team. He's not. And this team has so many weapons, right? I think it's going to have to be a by committee thing. While that I think will work, considering what we saw near the end of last season, going back to what Jay said, it's the rebounding, right? Like, unfortunately, you don't know whether AD is going to be that healthy. You don't necessarily want your center to be someone else and then him have to be your primary rebounder because Derek Lively is shooting 3 threes a game or whatever. So like it's tough. I think if they had a primary playmaker in that position or just like a better playmaker, I would project them to be like around 50 wins just because offense is the name of the game in this league. You have to be able to outscore your opponents. To quote Uncle Drew, this game has always been about getting buckets. All right. And we're gonna have a lot of heartbreaking moments, I think, before Kyrie Irving comes back in the lineup, which is unfortunate. But maybe Cooper really just takes over. That's the biggest hope, and hopefully Anthony Davis is healthy.
Speaking of Anthony Davis, do we think that he is going to improve his 3-point percentage? AD was 23% from 3 with the Mavericks. He hasn't shot
Yes.
above 30% from 3 since the 2019-20 season where they won the championship. You think he's going to be better, Vinay?
Better than whatever 23, but he's not going to, I don't think he's going to hit 30%, which is kind of the big issue. And especially when he's playing the 4, he's going to be, he cosplays I love Anthony Davis as a player even before the trade. But what annoys me is that he'll get too jump shot reliant because he acts like he's Dirk sometimes. And that's just like,
Yeah.
I'd like to see him drive against especially smaller defenders if he's going to be playing the 4, or if he's at the 5, he can take those bigs off the dribble. But sometimes he just gets too jump shot reliant. That includes, he doesn't like get up a lot of threes, but he's going to shoot more threes this year, I would think. And this has never been one of his strong suits in his game, unless we're playing in Disney World.
Have either of you watched a lot of Lakers playoff games over the last few years?
Yeah, every game against the Nuggets. And Anthony Davis gets too bad of a reputation for those series just because Nikola Jokic is literally like a basketball god. But AD doesn't get enough credit, honestly, for being a playoff elevator.
He is, but the issue is his shooting and like what you said, he's too jump up. Every Lakers fan because obviously I live here. You watch those games in the playoffs, especially that series that you're talking about against the Nuggets. It's a little bit of the passiveness, and that's my concern with him. Even though you're not shooting like his last year in LA on 2 attempts per game, obviously in fewer games, or well, not fewer games in in like half of the games in the season, he shot 30% on like 2 attempts, which isn't bad. I don't think he'll get up there, but if he's over 25%, that's fine. It's just this Mavericks team, since even before 2019, was just so jump shot reliant and just like so reliant on streaky shooters and did not have the personnel to rebound those shots. And I think it's going to give me some flashbacks to that era with Wesley Matthews and company. Not that it was a bad team, it's just not aggressive enough getting the ball to the basket. If you're going to play with a bunch of tall guys, you got to get to the basket. It's going to open up the floor for everyone. You don't have a Kyrie, you don't have a Luka. D'Lo's good, but he's not as good at getting to the paint as either of those guys.
He really doesn't get to the paint like at all. Like it's really like rare that he like drives, and he's more of like a shooting type of guard.
1-2 dribble
like,
pull up, yeah.
Which is why we haven't talked about Brandon Williams yet, but that's a guy like I said it before. I thought he should have played more to close the season last year, but he's one of the few guys on the roster right now that can get downhill, get to the rim. So if he somehow took a leap and is able to be one of those guys that can get into the paint, that would be huge for the team. Coop's going to be probably their best like downhill attacker with the ball this year, honestly.
People forget we have Brandon. People forget we have Hardy as well.
Oh, that's GG's on that. I was wrong about him.
Oh, I was too, man. Yeah, look, I think, and that's what makes it so frustrating that Anthony Davis's skill set lends itself so well to being a 5, but he just doesn't want to, and so I think the Mavericks is going to learn the hard way.
That's what their pivot's going to be if they eventually get to that point. I mean, they're going to pivot to AD at the 5, and one of our fan favorite centers are going to be off the team in Lively or Gafford, but. I mean, if AD walked into the office tomorrow and said, I'm playing the 5 strictly, then like the next thing Nico Harrison would do is field trade calls for those two guys.
Exactly. I also do feel like Gafford is going to get traded at some point, but it really remains to be seen this season. Like I think Derek Lively still needs to prove he can stay healthy, and hopefully being with like an actual medical staff will help him do that. But I think that's probably one of the main reasons why Gafford hasn't been traded yet is because you have Anthony Davis, you have Lively. These two guys are pretty injury prone, to say the least.
You didn't like the Robert F. Kennedy medical staff last year?
That's a great way to put it, dude. Holy crap.
I mean, it really did feel like we had RFK Jr. running the training staff last year.
Basically did. I mean, from Tim McMahon's reporting, we definitely had that.
It is actually like insane how many injury stuff we had last year. Like I know people are like, "Oh, we had the worst luck in basketball," which I granted some of it is luck, but like so many like Derek Lively's injury, Anthony Davis's injury when he got traded here, Luka's calf before his last games as a Maverick. Like so many things. PJ Washington's ankle that doesn't get talked enough about. He was like in and out of the lineup all throughout 2025 with this ankle that just never like properly like. He can't, I guess, fully blame that on the medical staff, but he also he talked out loud about how he came back too early, which is like he's not the only player that came back too early. Like,
I mean, it was malpractice. Like that, the medical staffs. It almost felt like their main goal was to rush players back from injury. Like that's why they were there. That's why Casey Smith was fired, was because
he was too negative.
Too negative. But in reality, he was a lot more conservative for good reason, because he knew that. The health of the player depended on them getting 100% right from any injury. Whoever was running the staff last year was just focused on getting these guys back into the lineup as soon as possible, which, I mean, they paid the price for it in the ultimate way. And so I think hopefully the new medical staff can be a lot better this year and, help Derek Lively. But the reality is Derek Lively has always kind of been a bit of an injury-prone player. So, I mean, yes, hopefully he doesn't suffer any foot fracture or anything like that, but there are going to be sprained ankles. There's going to be foot sprains, perhaps, things like that, freak facial injuries. So you have to budget in.
What? Oh, I guess that did happen.
Yeah, it happened in his rookie year. I think it happened twice, actually.
There was actually a stretch where the Mavericks had 3 different players with some variation of a broken nose.
I remember that, yeah.
Maxey, Luka, and Derek Lively.
That stuff is purely bad luck. But what happened
Yeah.
last year was self-inflicted.
Yeah, bad luck looks like the basketball gods hate you when it's paired with incompetence. So, yeah, I mean, you take away that incompetence, hopefully you have better luck.
Bro, screw you.
But
You're not a Mavs fan if you don't respect Emperor Nico.
it's like I regret joining Twitter again already. I will say my real question is, you were talking about Jaden Hardy as like a low-key disappointment. But do we think he's a two-way guy? Do you think Ryan Nembhard is going to have any run in the league this season? I think he plays the right way to maybe have like a boom cycle at some point in the season. He's a good playmaker. He's fast, right?
I would be very surprised if he did, just because of the depth that the Mavericks have. But if God forbid they have some major injuries in the backcourt, I could see that happening for sure.
I don't think he'll ever crack the rotation, but I expect to see him like with the regular team throughout the season, maybe sporadically. But I think he'll also play G League, get those reps. But I mean, he has a skill set that this team is just sorely lacking. Like you said, like we don't have enough playmaking. That we have a ton of play finishers like Cooper, AD, Lively, Gafford, PJ. A bunch of these guys can finish plays. Like who's setting it up for them? That remains to be seen. And Nemhard kind of has a skill set. Granted, he hasn't done it against NBA players. And you kind of saw like glimpses of bigger defenders bothering him even in summer league. But like I said, I don't think he's going to crack the rotation, but I think he's going to play here and there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be one of those things where he'll probably spend most of the time in the G League. But we do know Jason Kidd to like to try and get guys like that minutes throughout the season. So it wouldn't surprise me, especially if the Mavs are load managing, in that December, January timeframe when they're just trying to survive.
Load managing?
I mean, load managing.
We have no room to load manage. You're going to be the plane if you load manage.
Well, I mean, it's just like if D'Angelo Russell is playing 35 minutes a game at some point,
he's on a contract year. If he dies, he dies. Not that aggressive, but
I know what you mean.
Leave him out there. Load manage. I can't believe that came out of your mouth.
Maybe not load
Anthony
manage.
Davis.
But
Anthony Davis probably needs to be load managed here and there.
Can Ryan Nembhard play center?
If you don't want to win a basketball game, he can. If your goal is to get Darren Peterson, he can.
Maybe that should be the goal, but that's a topic for another day.
Hey, AJ Diabonsa had an incredible picture of his standing vert. It's almost as high as Luka Doncic's, according to Google Gemini.
AI slop. That's actually crazy.
That's a good segue. You're referring to that Men's Health article, which I'm sure was written at least 30% by AI, because they had that tidbit in there about how Luke had a 42-inch vertical, which
I missed that. I missed that part of Luka if that happened.
For context, Cooper Flag is a 35-inch vertical.
Is Luka with the 42-inch? That's literally LeBron.
That's the fucking like
It's
astronaut,
close to
bro.
Dennis Smith Jr. Actually, that's crazy. Yeah, I guess we're pivoting to the Men's Health article, aren't we?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how much time we want to harp on this, but it just feels like every few weeks, or at least once a month at this point, there's like some painful reminder about the trade. And obviously, this week has been a lot of those pictures of Luka and his new skinny form. The Men's Health article, there was he's doing a press tour for Jordan Brand in New York. He was on the Yankees broadcast the other day talking about that. So again,
that's the most polar bear in Arlington situation, by the way, is Luka on the New York Yankees broadcast.
I could barely hear him. I could barely hear him on there. But I mean,
he's a pretty soft-spoken guy.
Very soft-spoken. And again, it's just annoying that none of these things would have happened if he was still on the Mavericks. They never did any of this shit when he was on the Mavericks. He'd just go to Slovenia and never come back until like September. But
No,
now,
yeah, that's sorry to interrupt, but
no,
that's
it's
my
fine.
thing that like that's the only thing that I'm kind of like annoyed about is like, okay, why did his PR team just all of a sudden start like I get it, he had like a massive national news story with being traded, and he became a household name, but he already kind of was that, right? He had he had 33 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists in an NBA. That's unheard of. He has a scoring title. Like, and despite all of that, they can't even say his name right on ABC. Like, why is why are they still not able to say Doncic? They say Vucevic. They don't say Vucevic.
When did they say Vucevic on ABC? Have they ever said that on that? On that
Coming up
network?
next on Good Morning
Fair
America,
enough.
it's Nikola
Okay.
Vucevic.
What I'm referring to is like Mark Spears or like Stephen A. Smith or like one of these FS1 guys.
Super reputable basketball minds right there that you
Well,
just labeled off.
they get paid tens
The
of millions of
Luca and
dollars.
Kyrie, the Luca and Kyrie of basketball analysis.
It's just listen, it sucks that like that he's going on this like media tour and just, he's literally living in the Mavericks heads rent free and all of the fans heads rent free. But what I will say is I think some of this is just like marketing, like even some of the Luca hate. This is my conspiracy hat. I know this is a pivot. I think some of the like Luca hate on Twitter, most of it is real. I think some of it is like bot AI generated stuff. Like it just feels like that. He's gonna have a great season, but I think just like the doubt is overemphasized. No competent Mavs fan that I know over, I guess according to Vinay, the last 2019 to now 6 years of being a Mavs fan. We're not counting the other 14. In whatever, I kind of lost my place. The hate is overdone. I don't think anyone who looks at this having watched a Luka game, like Jamel Hill tweeted out today, like, oh, he's finally taking his health seriously. All this, I'm like, you didn't watch 20 Mavericks games any season that he played in a Mavericks uniform other than the playoffs. And I've heard this from Laker fans in the same year that the Nuggets won the championship, like them just being, Luka doesn't play any defense. Luka's not athletic. Luka's not this. It's like, yeah, he's not. He's not. I don't know. He's not Kyrie Irving, right? He's not Anthony Davis, but he can go downhill. He was pretty good at it, other than like 2 seasons where he was a little out of shape and had bad injury luck. Like he was in incredible shape going into the 23-24 season or 22
Yeah.
23.
And like I think as you said, like if anyone has been paying attention, you know that the last few years Luka has taken his conditioning seriously through the summer. Like he's hired a full team around him, he's hired a personal chef, et cetera, right? But the issue has always been staying in shape during the season. And I think he's going to be able to do that this year. But it's not like this is a new thing. Like he has been working on this the past few seasons.
I have a lot of thoughts on like all of it. I don't know how much time we have, but the Luka hate, just I guess from Mavs fans, kind of feels forced. It kind of feels like copium, just to kind of like, hopefully our general manager was right about this trade. And I mean, we do have a good team. Like I don't think it's a championship contender this year. I think next season we have a chance for that, but it just kind of feels like everyone's trying to not everyone, but some people are trying to justify Nico being right. I got a newsflash. He wasn't right. He's not going to be right. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. Unless
No,
Anthony Davis turns into like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar this year. Like it's just not going to happen.
No. Hey, Vinay, defense wins championships because the year is currently 2003 and the Detroit Pistons are in the NBA Finals.
They won
And
the game
Rudy
on a
Gobert-
score of 72-67.
The Minnesota Timberwolves are the
Don't make me
greatest
defend
basketball
Don't
team
make me defend defense.
in the West.
No,
Rudy Gobert is the best center in the NBA.
defense definitely wins championships, but you know you have to be able to score the ball. Offense
Agreed.
wins championships too. Defense wins
Like
championships is the same.
having a
Offensive-
scoring playmaking combo and a 6'8" like point guard body is like probably the only thing. Like that's what I'm starting a franchise with. Like if I could pick anything, maybe besides Jokic and maybe besides the alien in San Antonio. Like that's like exactly who you'd want to build your team around. And I mean, like the oh, whoops. The Mavericks went on 2 long playoff runs. You think like the Celtics were the first team to figure out to hunt Luca? Like hell no. Like remember the Chris Paul with Devin Booker picture looking at each other? That was because they were hunting Luca in game 2. It wasn't like the Celtics were the first team to do that, and he held his own after that. He's not the best defender. I'm not saying he's a good defender or anything like that, but like all these like reasons for why they made the trade or whatnot, and it changes every time for people. Now it's about him not being in shape and all that. Like, okay, if he's averaging 34, 9 and 9 out of shape, what the fuck does he do in shape?
Exactly. No, hey, listen. Everyone knows the agendas. Like, we're not going to sit here and say that trading him wasn't a huge loss, but like this idea that he was like that he was Trae Young or like Dame Lillard or even Jalen Brunson is ridiculous. He's not that easy to hunt. He's at minimum 230, 6'7", 6'8" in shoes. Like he's difficult to move around. The issue is his foot speed and his defensive footwork. Okay. And both of those things are issues.
And sometimes he doesn't care enough. I will say that.
Yeah,
but he's also expending a lot of effort on the offense.
I agree.
And despite all of this, what hasn't been addressed is like, yes, defense, like good defensive runs and stopping the other team from scoring will win you a championship because it's a game of runs. That doesn't mean that assembling the best defensive personnel means that you're a championship contender. That's how people and Nico Harrison has played collegiate basketball. So I feel like he should at least be smarter than this. But like, here's the thing, like the Nuggets are not some defensive juggernaut. The statistics may say that, but like personnel-wise, they have good pieces, but they're not like they don't have Rip Hamilton playing at the one.
I mean, case in point, the Mavericks in the second half of that 2024 or that 2024 season, when they went to the finals, they had the number 1 defense in the league with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving as starting players on that team.
I'm old enough to remember when people thought you couldn't field a playoff level defense with Luka and Kyrie. Like I'm old enough to remember those conversations.
And yes,
people are joking about how you needed to have 3 of the 04 Pistons next to this guy to have a competent defense. I'm old enough to remember these discussions.
Like get the fuck out of here with all that. Like, yes, Luka tends to have defensive lapses. He tends to lose his focus. But we've also seen when he locks in, he's a fine defender. Like he's not a defensive stopper, but he can stay in front of his man. And from a player that good, that's all you need because he's giving you 50 times that on offense. Like with Luka, it's never been about one side of the ball versus the other. It's been about the complete package, his net impact on the game, which is far and away a positive impact. And he's never been as bad as James Harden on defense. Like he's never consistently shown that level of ineptitude or just like not caring on defense. Like, yes, he's gone stretches not caring on defense, but he gets called out, he gets shamed by the media, and then you see him lock in immediately after that. Hopefully those habits get better over time, but again, not reason to trade him.
Defense is more of a team thing. Like even when the Celtics were hunting Luka, like it's still like overall like a team thing. Like it's never just like one guy doesn't completely elevate your defense. Maybe Rudy Gobert in the regular season, definitely not necessarily the case in the playoffs. But one guy doesn't ebb and flow your defense. But one guy can ebb and flow your offense, and that's the special part of Luka.
Very well said. And to underscore the point that both of you have made, but especially that Jay made, he's gotten better at it every year in the NBA. If the stats don't prove it to you, and they kind of should, he's improved like 23-24 and 22-23. He averaged 1.4 steals a game. And then last year he averaged 1.8. Like the one thing nobody can say about Luka Doncic is he doesn't have, like you can't say he does. Okay, I'm just going to say it in the positive way. He has one of the best basketball IQs in the league. Okay, like yes, he's going to get better at reading sets and reading passes and staying in the passing lanes. There are people who are a little smarter than the average idiots who say Luka plays no defense, who will say, oh, that's because he's being lazy and he doesn't want to defend. He's doing so much work on the other end. So much work on the other end. Like And on top of that, with the Celtics, he was injured during that series. I feel like that's
He
not
was
mentioned.
injured. Yeah, it's definitely not mentioned. People blame the calf injuries on his conditioning and all that. Like he's the only basketball player that doesn't get unlucky injuries, but that's another
No,
topic.
okay,
But like his last two playoff series, he was bad on defense, just point blank. But
sure.
he can definitely get better on that end, and a lot of it is still dependent on defensive personnel. And I still maintain that the biggest fucking reason the Mavericks didn't win the championship last year was A, the Celtics were better, but B, because no one else could hit shots.
Yeah, I mean, it at that point in the season, like, yes, conditioning plays an impact, but sometimes guys just get hurt. Like, it's part of the game. Guys get hurt, and for a player like Luka, who's already not the fastest player, a severe injury could definitely slow him down. And I'm not absolving him of all the blame, but to say that he alone was the reason for them losing is disingenuous. But it's a narrative that's been painted about Luka that now his team is trying to shake, and because they have the power of the Lakers brand behind him, they'll probably be successful in it. I would think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be fine. It's going to be, per usual, probably more about the team that's built around him. Hopefully not, for Mavericks fans' sake. Rob Lowe doesn't figure it out. I know its name is Rob Pelinka. I call him Rob Lowe. But hopefully for Mavericks fans' sake, it doesn't pan out. But if he figures out how to put better defensive personnel around Luka, like that's the bigger issue, or the more important variable to Luka's defense, I would say. He definitely needs to lock in on them, and there's no excusing that part of it, but that's not the reason why I think they've lost their last two playoff series against the Wolves with the Lakers, and then against the Celtics with the Mavericks.
Well said. I don't know if I have anything.
And I think he would have figured. He would have figured. I think he would have figured out the whole dieting and all this stuff in Dallas. I really believe that.
He's
I hate
been
the people that are
figuring it
crediting
out.
Nico.
Yeah.
I hate the people that are crediting Nico Harrison for the reason Luka's liking crazy. Maybe a little bit of touch of motivation was added with the trade and all that, but like, I feel like at some point he was going to figure it out with his diet. He has like a good team around him that's only been there for a couple of years now, like an actual like team that evidently Nico Harrison didn't trust. He wanted Robert F. Kennedy instead to lead medical decisions. But I mean, we can belabor the whole point. Luka's a Laker, which is really annoying because we're going to have to face him in the playoffs one of these years, and that's when I will bitch about the trade more than I probably ever have. He dropped 45 points out of shape, quote unquote, in Dallas against defense wins championships. We had all of our bigs
crying his heart out before the game. Do you know how difficult it is to literally like go through grief and then like play 40 fucking minutes against a good basketball team?
Yeah, I mean, wow, he left on that note.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with anything that he said. Like,
no, me neither.
yeah, it's it feels like we're belaboring the point, but this is just the reality of the Mavericks in 2025, and it'll be the reality in 2026 and probably in 2027 too. This trade is not going away anytime soon. We are going to be talking about it and talking about it and talking about it unless something crazy happens and the Mavericks win a championship. That is the only thing that will get people to stop talking about the trade.
Yeah, and like the whole trade purpose, like if you believe the basketball reasons for it, was Nico Harrison believed that trade was going to make them better for that season's NBA title odds. Like he thought swapping out Luka for AD and Christie would increase that year's chances of winning championship, which is cool. Okay, cool. He thinks that. Okay, now you added Cooper Flag for essentially free, maybe the cost of the 11th overall draft pick that turned into the first overall draft pick, but you're adding Cooper Flag to this mix. Like there's zero excuse, like if they don't win a championship in the next, they're not going to happen this year, but if they don't win it next year or anything like that, they don't have a deep playoff run. I don't understand how anyone can defend all that. And I hope he's right about that part of it. I don't want him to be right about Luka. Like I'm still rooting for Luka, even though he's on the fucking Lakers. But
yeah. I mean, I'm rooting for him too. But yes, I agree with you. Like this trade was made supposedly because it gave the Mavericks a better chance to win the championship.
People forget about that. I don't know how people forgot about that. There wasn't no vision to getting Cooper Flag. It was because you thought the team would have a better title chance after that trade. Like you almost like sold out your future in a way, not trading draft picks, but Luka's your future, and you're pivoting to the short-term window. And you thought that this would help, and Remains to be seen. I'm very skeptical that it made the team better in that aspect. Cooper's not a part of the trade.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you cannot consider Cooper Flag part of that trade. I mean, they got Cooper Flag because the vision did not work out. That like
Yes,
people
precisely.
forget that. And yes, Cooper Flag I think is going to be. We said it's going to be fucking amazing. But at the end of the day, like Luka Doncic is the proven commodity in the league. Like that is the player that every team tries so hard to be so bad and tank for the draft pick to get that player. And the Mavericks had him and gave him away. And hopefully Cooper Flag can be that. But you know, from watching Luka, like you know how rare it is to get a talent like that. It's not like someone like that comes around every day. And so it's a risk, but the Mavericks got luckiest in the most insane way. And so I think it's just a matter of time before we're talking about a new general manager.
It might be a while, man.
Yeah, we'll see. It depends on how fast Patrick Dumont can learn about owning an NBA team.
That also might never happen either.
I guess time will tell. Time will tell whether fortune favors the bold.
I mean, we got fortunate as fuck. Like all these Nico bots would not be in our commons if we were drafting Jace Richardson at 11. I mean, we got Cooper, like the guy that brought everyone out of the shell. It was honestly, I mean, I like this timeline more of we have Cooper Flag and we get the replies as opposed to like no Cooper Flag and all these people are quiet like they were in March, April, and May. So I do like that part of it.
Yeah, I mean that it certainly has given us something to look forward to. Like I'm glad we don't have to be in that timeline where we're talking about Jace Richardson. Like bless his heart, I think he'll be a fine player, but you know he's not Cooper Flag. So, look, I think that's all I got, Vinay. I think we've been on here for a little while. You have anything else?
No, that's it. That is it for me.
Well, I think that's a good stopping point, Vinay. Thanks as always. Thanks to everyone who tuned in to our stream. Thank you, Rohan. I don't know what happened to him, but
He said his phone died.
okay, figured that's what happened. But appreciate Rohan as always. Good having him back after a long time. And so we'll do another stream maybe later this week, sometime next week. So hopefully this one was better than the last one. Appreciate everyone who is trying to grow this with us. So follow us on Twitter at Mavs Film Room. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you soon. Go Mavs.